What's happening? This is Golden Dark Dane, and I am on to discuss what's been on TV for this week, the first full week, ending out the first full week of this year of 2021. So, talking about what's been on TV, shows, Power Book 2 Ghost finale, review for that, and mentioning verses, Ready to Love, and Put a Ring on It, which are on tonight on the OWN network. So I know that Ready to Love, the finale of Ready to Love just finished airing on the East Coast, that is, and that right now Put a Ring on It is on. So I have not watched Ready to Love episode from tonight as of yet. But I will be coming back to that just to summarize that series from what I've seen thus far. And but to go back to what is our two Ghosts season finale. So YouTube will not allow me to be fully great because I had a video about my prediction for that finale that did not remain on YouTube. So unfortunately, if it does end up making it back on here, clearly it won't be in a fairly close to timely fashion. So just to touch on that, the finale of Power Book 2 Ghost. I did get to see it on a delay. I've watched it within the past 24 hours. And my thoughts on that are that part of what I predicted, maybe about 50% of my prediction, or the characters that I did predict the outcome for, was accurate. My prediction for Cain was not accurate. And there were a couple of surprises with a few of the characters. There was a couple of surprises and a couple of scenes that threw me and had me thinking that some other, but it looks pretty close. So, but what occurred with that was I thought that Cain was going to get killed off just because of all the bad decisions that he made throughout the show, pretty much every episode. And we see that he remains standing, and that he also ended up having what appeared to be a bit of a change of heart towards Tariq. It's like he finally started to come to his senses, because he went to kill Tariq, but when he got to where Tariq was, he changed his mind, and Tariq, worked his mouthpiece well enough to keep Cain from, shooting him, and, talking him into, persuading him to, we need to be working together, trying to talk Cain down for making another poor decision and to get off that path. So that was effective for Tariq. But during that scene, for a moment, it was possible. I was thinking that maybe Cain was going to go ahead and shoot Tariq anyway. But that didn't happen. And again, Cain himself, nobody came after Cain. So another part of my prediction was that mother, Monet, and there was a scene where that was likely, but she didn't pull the trigger. And it was for the exact reason that I also predicted, as far as, the fact that he killed the dirty cop who was also her former lover. and had been helping out their family, you know. But she did find that out, and it was in a moment where she was actually coming to try to get him back on the ends. And she ended up connecting the dots and finding out that he did do something to that character. I can't think of his name. I think it was Ramirez. And so, yeah, she was on the verge of shooting him. She put a gun out on him and was on the verge of shooting him for that reason that I predicted. But that also did not occur. So, yeah, so those aspects of my predictions did not play out. Now, when it comes to Tyreek and what happened in court, my prediction with that was 50% accurate. And as far as him putting the attorney Sachs on blast once he got on the stand, that was part of what I said that I thought might happen. And but the other part of that I wasn't expecting. He threw in some lies with his testimony. So my prediction didn't boil down that far as what he might do, what Tariq might do once he was in court. But clearly, they made, the way that they wrote it, they made Tariq successful enough to be able to sprinkle some lies, but put Sachs on blast enough that was the focus of the attention in court, within the courtroom, and definitely by the judge. So that worked well enough that the guy who was the boss of Cooper Sachs came in, and he even sideswiped the judge. He had the judge like, hey, chill for a moment, and he took full control over that scenario to the level of, arranging a deal in order to get Cooper Sachs off of, he was the prosecuting attorney against Tasha. So the deal that his boss offered for this case was for, number one, for, him to be stepping back, Cooper Sachs to be stepping back, stepping off, and really to get all the each lawyer kind of like to fall back, because he offered Tasha the opportunity to, have the charges dropped. So if she would agree to bring up Tommy as, the kingpin, what have you, as far as the drug operation that Tasha's late husband, Ghost, used to run. And as far as Tommy being the one who killed Ghost, because, clearly they want to be able to put somebody away, but they can no longer pursue Tasha to be that one, because it's evident to them now, to everybody now, and out in the open, that she couldn't have been the one. So that's why this deal was offered for her. If Tasha was able to, like I said, bring somebody literally to the table, place the blame on somebody, who will be believable that they did it. That's what happened in court. And then, we get to see Tommy come back onto the scene because of that. Because her attorney, Davis McLean, he was so bold that as soon as she was released, he wants her to get on camera and make a statement saying that she's gonna tell on Tommy, which was so, like, I don't know how to describe that, but that's how he positioned Tasha as soon as she was coming out from behind bars. And so, but she, even though she agreed to do that, she knew for herself, and she let her son Tariq know that she was not actually going to do that. That when it came down to it, she was not going to do that. And so, but again, because she got put on blast to do it publicly, um, Tommy pops back up, and he tries to take her down. So, um, you know, so all these things lead to the result of um, Tommy, Tariq, and Tasha conspiring together. And it was hard for me to tell if, I don't think so, but it's a small possibility that Cooper Saxe also was part of that conspiracy as well. Which was for Tommy to follow Tasha. Because Tariq definitely was the one whose plan it was, who was part of setting it up. But what happened was that it was coordinated for Tommy to follow Tasha, but what the unexpected part of that, for the viewer anyway, was that Saxe was with Tasha in order to protect her, and in the same process take Tommy into custody, or else kill him, one or the other. So Tommy gets to following Tasha in a vehicle. Cooper Saxe is in the same vehicle as Tasha, and what occurred was that Tommy had a collision because they had other police trailing Tasha as well, just because Cooper Saxe was also present with her. So, but Tommy ended up having a collision, and the intention was for it to look like he died in this collision. But in actuality, he didn't. And I knew as soon as they showed, his vehicle, go up in flames, that I knew that he wasn't dead. I knew it. I knew it off the break. So, but that was the appearance that was planned. So after that, Tommy is still following Tasha though. Like, it gave the false appearance that he died. And that was for the purpose of getting the cops off of his back because of the first attempt he had already made trying to take Tasha out unsuccessfully. So police got wind of that. And that's why they ended up, being part of this plan, knowing that he was following her. But because he faked his vehicular homicide, or, accidental vehicular homicide, like I said, he was still tailing Tasha. And so it came down to Tasha getting ready to, leave, and Tariq comes to her because she wanted him to go with her, into protective custody, or, whatever her plan was to get out of the area. And Tommy he came close to getting her. And honestly, before that scene, I thought that Tasha was gonna get taken out. I can't think of exactly what scene it was, but there was a scene in particular about halfway through the episode that had me thinking Tasha gonna mess around and get killed. She gonna get herself killed. And it may have been shortly after. It was around the scene where she went to see Monet, or just prior to that. I don't remember exactly what scene it was, but it was right after she got out that I had gained the notion that she was going to get killed on this episode and no longer be part of the story. So, because she had a couple of, I don't know, vulnerable moments, I guess. And yeah, so she looked like she was kind of like putting herself out there to me. But She didn't get killed. And again, the last time that Tommy came for her on this episode, Tariq was there. They were in the cemetery, and then the police ended up swarming. Now, also, just prior to that scene, Tariq had communicated with Tommy, and that's how the viewers, any viewers unlike me, who weren't able to connect the dots and recognize that Tommy's crash scene was staged, that's the point in which viewers were able to tell that that was planned, because I think Tommy called Tariq, and they had a conversation as far as you know acknowledgement that, okay, so police think that I'm dead, and is that the case? Just trying to ensure that the plan was successful. And so Tariq is assuring Tommy, like, yeah. And he's like, you're not gonna keep coming after my mom, right? Or else Tommy just asked. So Tommy was doing most of the talking on this conversation, but he asked Tariq. And Tariq was able to catch on. Tommy asked Tariq, like, so your mom leaving? So that was a dead giveaway that Tommy still had Tasha on his radar, if nothing else was. That was it. And so Tariq was like, yeah. So, but the next scene, like I already mentioned, was Tasha in the cemetery, Tariq meeting her there, and Tommy already being there getting ready to shoot her. And he possibly was going to shoot both Tasha and Tariq. But when Tariq came out there, this was the final part of his plan, because the police were just, moments within him showing up there. They showed up as well. And, they were there to whisk Tasha away, telling her, like, we received a tip about, another threat on your life. So, again, they're trying to ensure thoroughly that they get her into protective custody. And for real, as crazy and reckless as Tommy, as the behavior that Tommy has exhibited from Power, they could have put a little more action into that, because they could have had Tommy start shooting anyway. The police were out there. I was actually kind of holding my breath, thinking that might happen. But it didn't. He put his gun down when he saw the police coming out there among Tasha and Tariq. So he didn't try to shoot her. But after the police did whisk Tasha away, Tariq remained out there just for a few moments, and Tommy ran up on him, and then somebody ran up on Tommy, and that was, part of his new family, so to speak, / protector, the Queen Pen Monet. So she rolled up on Tommy, and she regulated the whole situation. Because Tommy clearly was, obviously he was caught off guard at the fact that he wasn't able to, follow through with taking out Tariq. But Monet appeared, and she disarmed Tommy and let Tommy know that she has Tariq's back. So it's like, step off. And he had the nerve to ask for his gun back. But the way that they had him say that line was almost like it has to be a joke. You know what I mean? But it came off kind of weakly. But yeah, it's like, well, I guess not in his lifetime, huh? And I'm thinking, hell, man, they could have thrown his gun to indicate to him, like, fuck out of here, get real, But no, she took his gun from him, and she had her own gun. So she had 2 guns aimed at Tommy by the end of that scene. And, he walked back out of the cemetery. And so, yeah, so But prior to that, I think that was, pretty much that was the culminating scene. But prior to that, another notable scene of this episode was when after Tariq's court appearance and how he went back to campus, and he it's the only scene that he had with his roommate Brayden. But that scene with Tariq and Brayden, it was just so it was just so picturesque of a youthful visual of the Tommy and Ghost dynamic from Power. So the brief conversation that Tariq and Brayden had was in regards to their drug operation and whether or not it was going to continue. And Brayden was eager for it to continue, but he also expressed understanding if Tariq, was going to choose or not be able to continue with it. And Brayden, was just really trying to, seek to kind of get, a cue or indicator from Tariq on, where that was going to stand. Kind of like, where's your head at on this? From Tariq. And Tariq told him, he was like, yeah, I don't really know. He was like, but if I don't, no. Initially, Tariq expressed wanting to let it go. Brayden expressed like, for what, man? Because Brayden is eager to continue with it. Because he feels like, hey, like, I'm succeeding with doing this. Like, I'm doing this well. I can. So why stop it? And so that's the point at which Tariq was like, well, if I don't continue, then, you can always take over for me. That's what he said verbatim to Brayden. So again, it oozed the Tommy and Ghost brotherhood from the beginning of when Power was on. And so but that's where that's sat. So those all of those scenes, those poignant scenes throughout the episode lead to the clear indication that they didn't need to like close it, because we already know that there's a second season of the show that's estimated. So it was all right. Definitely wasn't terrible. But again, just a couple of spots they could have filled in with a little bit more action, in my opinion. Like I said, it could have showed us, it could have given us a little stronger sprinkle of Tommy's craziness, considering he's coming back and, got guns blazing for Tasha, most definitely, and he's still not feeling Tariq, you know what I mean? Still not feeling Tariq. But and because he didn't get apprehended and didn't die, we know that he's, going to be part of, I'm sure, a substantial part of the storyline in season 2 of Power Book 2 Ghost. And we'll see how the dynamic between Cane and Tariq manifests. If Cane is able to calm down and, become more compatible with Tariq, as far as him being accepted as an integral part of the family by Monet. And we'll see if Monet is able to, cultivate any degree of I guess, remorse towards Cane. Because remember, her other son got shot up, and she feels like that is ultimately by way of Cane's ignorance. And I agree. So we'll also see what happens with their cousin, Zeke. We see that he seems to be a little bit more wrapped up in his illicit relationship with his advisor, Professor Milgram seems to be strengthening, and especially on her end as well now, since we saw that the other professor got killed. Kane took the first shot on that professor. Tariq took the last 2 or 3 shots to finish that professor off. I can't think of his name, but the male professor who was plagiarizing from Tariq's assignments in order to start writing his next book. And he was. I knew some character was gonna fall by the wayside. I knew it, but yeah, he was just one. He was probably the most notable one to fall by the wayside compared to the other characters that fell by the wayside and or got taken out, and that we see are not going to be part of the continuation of this show. So, because he was asking too many questions, like he was so pressed and he was just eager about the wrong things. He was eager to find out the wrong things, and it's not even really clear if he was able to decipher that Professor Milgram was not actually involved with Tariq, considering that when Zeke came to see her and she told him, oh, well, let's go in my office, and he's watching them go, and Zeke touched her arm as they were walking, and he saw that. The other professor saw that, and she got to see that he noticed that. But we got to see that after that other professor, the male, had been killed, that he had sent Professor Milgram a message. I had some indication to her that he was mistaken, but it didn't specify in what way he was mistaken. He was asking to, speak with her the next day. But right after she read that message by him, and remember at this point he's dead, but nobody knows that. Right after she read that message, her and Zeke are bunned up and they're getting ready to do the do again. So she seems, like I said, a little enamored, kind of almost like a sign of her being a little more mentally free and, definitely, fulfilled by someone other than the way she was previously sexually fulfilled by the other professor. But now we know that he's dead, and she has yet to find that out. Everybody has yet to find out that this other professor is dead. So anyhow, again, we definitely have some, things to imagine as far as how the second season will start out. There's enough there. There is enough there. So moving on, what would have been occurring tonight, it had been rescheduled from a few weeks ago, but it got postponed. It's been postponed once again. Was the Verzuz battle. So as Ashanti and Keyshia Cole, they were supposed to have had their battle. It was originally scheduled for December a few weeks ago, but it was reported that Ashanti had contracted COVID-19. And so they had set a postponement date to be either for tonight or tomorrow. I don't remember which, but at this point, like I said, they postponed it once again. I saw on their Instagram profile, Verzuz Instagram profile, the announcement in writing. They said this, and I am truncating and reading part of the message. They said, Verzuz said, this has been an emotional week. In addition, as COVID-19 numbers continue, safety is a priority for us. We enjoy having everyone together in the same room to protect the artists and everyone who works with us putting shows together. We'll be going back to separate locations. We're excited and look forward to getting back to the show in the coming weeks. Ashanti versus Keisha Cole coming soon. So they postponed it, like I said, a second time, and they haven't specified a date. So this kind of gives me the impression that number one, that Ashanti is still in recovery mode. Number two, that which makes perfectly good sense, that they are in the process of establishing how they're going to revamp the the battle platform, literally, as far as how are they going to determine the, I guess, schematics and the sound qualifications, making sure that the logistics are together, since they're going to be going back to having the battle occur between two different places and not within the same place, which they had started doing by versus battle, either in number 4, 5, or 6. Because in the beginning they had it in separate locations. But the main reason why they went away from doing that is because there were sound issues, technical issues that were not uniform between the two artist locations who were battling. And the versus battles are always live, so that makes a difference. When they had provided instructions, this is based according to what I recall, reading, versus Timbaland and Swizz Beatz always provide instructions. They have this protocol of instructions that they provide to the artists that are going to be battling each other prior to the battle, so that those artists can prepare and obviously, get everything together as necessary for the battle to be, go off in a uniform fashion, go off without a hitch. But what had been happening was, again, sound issues, restarts, signing off, signing back on, and pausing, and you can hear the sound on the end of one artist, but can't hear the sound clearly on the end of the other artist, and echoes, and just issues to the degree of frustration and viewers logging off. Because hell, if I can't hear everything clearly, I can't stand to watch this. It's easily frustrating for viewers, clearly, as well as for the artists participating, I'm sure. The battle between Teddy Riley and Babyface is a prime example of that. They attempted to do their versus battle twice, because when they were on the first one, that's how bad the sound issues were. Babyface signed off after they went back and forth for a while trying to get things right. He just ended up signing off, and he was the one who made the announcement, like, let's try this another time. It's better for the sound and everything to be right, and so that everybody can enjoy this experience. So let's try this again at another date. And it should not have taken Babyface being the one to make that call, but that's how that turned out. So again, that's how it was in the beginning, with separate locations for the versus battle, and just with the highlighted closer effects of COVID-19, and the fact that one of the artists who would have been participating in the battle contracted it. Versus is obviously acknowledging that to the point of their announcement and informing that they're going to go back to the original format of Versus, which is being in two separate locations. Because let's all remember, from what I can tell, that was the motivating factor in Versus being created. That's the whole reason why it came to fruition, because we can't go to concert venues. So Versus is the next best alternative of musical entertainment for the public to be able to partake in. So there's no Versus this weekend. There's no Ashanti and Keisha Cole battle, as it had been rescheduled to be for this weekend, unfortunately. But personally, I'll say it is fortunate that, again, Versus is making this decision and taking the necessary precautionary measures in order to safeguard the well-being of everybody that's involved in producing Versus. So that's a good thing. Next is Ready to Love. So Ready to Love. My thoughts about this season of Ready to Love, The Last Resort, and this is season 3 of this show. My thoughts about this series have definitely, collected over the weeks that it's been airing. I've been keeping up with watching it faithfully. And so to the point that, I have a personal account. I have a personal testimony in regards to, one of the participants on this show, on this season anyway. And additionally, I personally know a contestant who was on season 2 of Ready to Love. I personally know of, because it's been a long time, but I know of the contestant who was on season 2 of Ready to Love named Mike, the light-skinned, tall, buff, bald guy, Mike. So I know Mike. But coming back to this current season of Ready to Love, season 3, The Last Resort. So again, I've been watching, and it's been, because I haven't watched the episode tonight as of yet, because I came on here. I'll try to summarize my thoughts on it thus far. Speaking of what I've seen thus far. I've not seen tonight's episode yet. So minus tonight's episode, it's Friday, January 8th. Minus tonight's episode, here are my thoughts on Ready to Love, The Last Resort. And, just how things have been panning out for some of the people who have, gotten eliminated up to this current point. So, it's funny to me watching shows like this. And I'll include in this thought, put a ring on it too, because both of these shows are on the OWN network. Both of these shows, are indicative of the idea of, establishing and visualizing and enabling Black love, right? So, that's the motivation for tuning in. Because how often do we get to see that on network television in a mostly, positive light? Okay. Now, but granted, these are still and both reality shows. So that being said, every reality show has a degree of scripts that are incorporated into the production. So, but with this Ready to Love season, The Last Resort, a couple things that stood out to me from the beginning were, and remember, they got this different platform compared to the last two seasons because of COVID-19. Okay. So resort, so when it comes down to them dating, everybody is within the same proximity. Unlike the first two seasons where everybody was, remained within their respective city that they live in, but they were able to retain their own regular lifestyle schedules as far as, working and doing whatever else in between their engagement and involvement with, among the other contestants on the show and going on dates and, interacting at on their own schedules. Okay, so that's the key difference between season 3 and previous seasons of Ready to Love. So some of the folks that stood out to me, and what I want to say about this, I guess maybe mostly relates to the male characters, the male participants anyway. So when it came down to, these are the folks that stood out to me because I have a discerning eye. So the folks who stood out to me from episode 1 were like, I was kind of like seeking to identify those who look like they might not, have, I guess, a genuine or authentic impression, as far as them even being on there, as far as them possibly, really seriously being, quote, ready to love. You know what I mean? This is the name of the show. Not ready to date. It's not ready to game. It's ready to love. And I'm very literal as well. So, but so this is how I'm looking at folks. So everybody, going through the introductions and the folks that stood out to me as far as had me feeling and thinking like, nah, I don't know. I don't think they don't look really that real or, what have you. Don't look like they might have had a, player vibe or persona to them visually, as far as what I can tell from their introductions, as well as, what continued throughout. But from the beginning, the folks that appeared that way to me were, well, I'll speak of how that's applicable up to last week, within the last 2 episodes. And again, not including tonight's episode because I haven't seen it. Excuse me. So those folks who looked like that to me, who stuck out like sore thumbs and like they might not be real to me, were, and we're still on up to the last episode or 2, were Jay, were Edwin, and were who was the light-skinned guy, the bald light-skinned guy with the glasses? That guy. So I'm stating them specifically because, like I said, they've still been on the recent episodes. Within the last 2 episodes, they're still, they've still been in the running. Anthony seemed like, like he had a real personality from what I could tell from his introduction. But we see that, among the women, they feel like he is, he's kind of, I guess, flat as far as personality. But he has, been able to retain his presence on there thus far, so apparently that's doing something right compared to, being any other type of way. and already getting eliminated off. He's still on, so must be have been doing something right enough. So, but yeah. So like I said, those three stuck out to me like sore thumbs. Like I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And the reasons why is because I can definitely say I can specifically say that oh wait, I'm gonna tell you the name of the light skinned guy that I'm talking about, who didn't really seem that real to me from the beginning. Rashid. So yeah, Rashid, Jay, and Edwin. Now the reasons why Rashid, to me, he seemed like kind of like false ego, like fronting with the ego. You know what I mean? Jay seemed, he just, I don't know, it was just something to him that flat out gave me just kind of like player. Like that's the first word that came to my mind when I saw him. And then with Edwin, the thing about him that stuck out to me like was when they showed his age. It immediately struck me like, no, that's not how old he really is. Like, no, that can't be right. That's not true. So those are the things about those three that had me feeling from the beginning like, they don't seem like they for real on here. So the current point that things came to, I'll say up to the episode last week. That episode last week was just like, it was so, oh, how can I describe it in one word? It was so, somber, but that's not the word I really want to use. Last week's episode, Love and Loss. It was, obviously unfortunate because, somebody had to depart by way of a death in their family occurring. And so that person leaving had a domino effect to the degree of it being an unexpected domino effect because of the number of additional people who also ended up leaving, and not by way of actually being eliminated. So yeah, it was just, I don't know, that last week the episode was a jumble. It was a jumble. But despite the factors that took off the people that left during that episode, I think that it was actually everybody that got taken off from the episode last week. I had predicted to myself that all of those folks would be going. I promise you that. The only exception to my prediction was Joy. I didn't think she was going to leave, but again, she didn't get eliminated. But the people who voluntarily left, I promise you, I knew the people who did get eliminated and or voluntarily left, aside from Joy, I knew that they was coming up next. And that's real. So Jay left because Joy left. And everybody already knew, viewers, the other participants on the show already knew that. Even among the other coupled interests on the show, on the set, it was probably apparent that the connection between Jay and Joy was the strongest among them. and also, to viewers. So when Joy left, Jay left soon thereafter, and when it came to Edwin, I thought that he was actually going to get eliminated, but and he probably would have, but he ended up leaving prior to that point in the show coming. So he left. He didn't get eliminated. He left. He removed himself from the process, and um, and then the additional person who got taken off last week episode by way of really just not even by way of not even by way of elimination actually, but by way of a process, conversational process was oh gosh, I'm forgetting people's names. I'm so horrible tonight. Was excuse me, Denise. Yeah, so she got the boot, and like I said, that was just by way of conversation, just by way of dialogue, and not the actual, technical elimination process. So she got prematurely eliminated in a way, but again, I promise you, 3 out of the 4 that left, I knew that they was gonna be. I knew that they would be. I knew that they were among the next ones. Yeah, so that's what happened last week. So with tonight's episode being the finale, and with them, I guess the men who remain, they're supposed to be bringing the women among, I think it's their family, the men's family members. It seems kind of chopped up to me as far as the sequence of the episodes, because the women had to do that with their friends earlier in the series. So why is it? I just feel like, why is it just now coming down to the men having that onus of decision and of determination, and why the women had to do it first? Um, you know, but it is what it is, That's that production, and that's how they, scheduled it. So again, I have yet to see that. And again, I also do have a personal nugget, and I'm waiting to decide if I want to incorporate that into this broadcast here. I might tack it on right before I finish tonight, or I might wait. But I'll see how I feel. So, and finally, I want to also summarize how this first, or this new rather, series of Put a Ring on It has been going. So, Put a Ring on It. When I first saw that, the thing that kind of compelled my interest was to see, I guess, how it would be handled, like how what that process was going to be, how that sequence was going to go, what was the objective of that show. I was curious to see. So again, with the impression of Black Love being a goal, I've been watching Put a Ring on It, and in my opinion, this show has panned out to be pretty uh contradictory, and also ah just, I don't know, disingenuous, because I feel like my impression from this show in general has been these couples are on here. They came on here because they're, clearly there was already, rifts in their relationship. And this is over the course of, you know, a minimum of a few years. So you're coming on to this show to see if you should not only stay together, but take your relationship to another level by way of deciding and agreeing to getting married, or one or two options. Option number two being, or deciding to break up. And to help each couple make this decision, choosing one decision or the other is setting them up to be able to go on dates with other people. So when it came to them dating, the thing I didn't like about it was just the reactions that were captured. Because I kind of feel like there also should have been, you know, preset parameters for dating agreed to prior to them actually starting to date. That would have made watching these couples in their dating processes look more realistic. You know what I'm saying? Now, because when you look at how here I go again trying to get the names right. I don't want to just be calling out anybody's name. I want to do people's names justice. I'm trying to be respectful. When it came to Shay and Michael, okay. Shay clearly, from what we got to see, of course, can only judge based on what was shown. Shay clearly is the type who is, she's like manipulative at the drop of a hat when it comes to her relationship with Michael, to the degree that, she wanted to create stipulations as she saw fit, like at a moment's notice, and really like not even with any type of reasoning. Okay, she just make up a condition, like she did that on a regular. And I didn't think that was, obviously it didn't look right, it didn't look good at all. But again, that's the type of persona she, was showing. And then when it comes to Hollywood and Ashley, oh my goodness. Whew, Hollywood and Ashley. Ashley is just, she is just the cutest. She is the cutest thing. But, when you mix her persona with her man Hollywood's persona, it's like the way Hollywood would react to certain things. It's like he was acting out. It was almost like he was having emotional tantrums. And then Ashley's response to that, it's like she would seek to match that coming from him. So their whole interactions were not appealing. Did not appear to be, like seriously conducive to having an actual healthy relationship. Now again, we talking about reality TV. I get that. I realize that. But also, even though some of these things that we got to see from these people may have been put on, I feel like at the end of the day, what people show you, whether it's real or fake, is still an indication of something that's, you know, um, within them. It's something that's a part of how they can really be, whether it's subconscious or not, or otherwise, it's still a part of how they are. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a matter of persuasion for somebody to express a behavior that may not, be genuine at that given moment. But again, it doesn't mean that they don't truly feel that way in some degree in order to be able to execute said behavior. So you try to give an example. So with Hollywood, Ashley's getting ready to go on a date. She's waiting for her date to arrive. Kwame, when she was waiting for Kwame to come, I think either for their first or second date. And Hollywood, he starts off so like he's teasing Ashley about it, but the more that he's talking about it, he seems to get like riled up, and to a degree of seriousness, of being bothered. And so when Kwame gets there, not only is he in the process of antagonizing Ashley, but he also starts to antagonize Kwame as well, telling him, "Oh, you come here, you gotta take off." I think he told Kwame that if he came in their apartment, that he would need to take off his shoes. I think I recall him saying that when Kwame came for his first date with Ashley. I think that happened. And then also, let me talk to you for a second. What you need to talk to him about? You are not nobody's daddy, and you are not in charge of Ashley. So why do you call yourself taking on a position as though you are this, protective father figure, pseudo father figure of Ashley, to where, oh, I'm gonna tell this guy what his limits are with taking her out. Like it just didn't. It was just so like mixed up, and so it's like he doing the most and it don't even make sense and it's not even funny. If that was the intention behind it, it's like that was a fail. But so yeah, that type of behavior from Hollywood. And it's like again, it just as we got to see, as they showed that dynamic of, like I said, him and Ashley going at each other like that, ultimately, some definitely genuine emotion was evoked from Ashley to Hollywood, and her telling him like, I don't like the way you do this, that, and the third, and he consistently cut her off talking. This is highly disregardful. Hollywood is highly disregardful of Ashley, even in dialogue. Literally, he does not want to hear what she has to say because he doesn't care. He is so busy with attempting to express himself in hopes that, what he wants to be heard overrides anything else. So that's just indicative of how self-centered he is, if nothing else. And then, like I said, though, her response is like, she's emotional. She's almost to tears, telling him like, if you can't, do this, then or whatever she said. I can't remember verbatim, but she kind of like gave him an ultimatum. She was giving him a verbal ultimatum, just as a way of informing him that kind of like if you cannot reach the point of being more understanding, again, whatever it was she said to him, then you're going to have to start preparing yourself to let me go, and or likely I'm going to be gone. You know what I mean? So it's almost like she was threatening him. Yeah, it was actually more like a threat than an ultimatum. But, you could categorize it as either one, considering the platform that we're seeing this play out on. And then what's the other couple what is the other couple? The replacement couple that came on and replaced You Listen Mimi. I can't remember their names, but that guy, the guy in that couple, he just looks, I told myself I was not going to judge. I was not going to make judgments and statements based off of people's appearances. But I think I'm going to have to throw that out the window on this one. The couple, Tamika and Vince. Vincent. Yeah, Tamika and Vince. Vince looks like, I don't know. He looks like he looks kind of shady. He looks immature. He looks yeah, like that. And Tamika, I mean, she seems like generally a sweet girl, but also she is stuck emotionally in regards to how he already hurt her. But the position that she's at and that she's explaining as far as their relationship goes, it's contradictory, because how can you be mad? How can you still be mad at him for knowing that he cheated on you / lied to you about it / doesn't want to come clean about it and acknowledge it so that you can gain some sense of assurance to, but I hope that we can get married. Like, it can't really be both. It can't. It cannot. So which one is it really? Which one of those is it? Either you don't trust this dude and you never will, and you feel like you're in a place where you are obligated to hold this over his head because you want him to grovel for you, or else you're going to accept it and continue to remain in a relationship with him for as long as possible and still hope that he's going to wife you. So that is really is hugely bothersome, because it's not reasonable for either one of them. But that's where they are. That's what we see of them. Doesn't make good sense. Now, on the episode from last week, he's, expressing to her like he wants to dismiss his past wrongdoings. But in conjunction with what I already said, the contradiction is that he has not appeared to have admitted to anything that she claims that he did to have wronged her, as far as cheating in the past. So how can Vince expect to dismiss what he won't even admit or acknowledge to having occurred? You can't say that was in the past and she thinks I'm going to do it again. She thinks you're going to do what again? What did you do? And this is the part where he would need to acknowledge fully whatever it is that he did that was wrong. But we haven't seen him do that. We haven't seen him speak to that degree. He always cuts it at that point and wants to circle back to the beginning and say, oh, she's tripping. It's her. So, that's the conflict with that couple, with them as a couple. And briefly, with when it came to what's their name? The couple that Vincent and Tamika replaced. Again, I was trying to reserve judgment based off of looks, but this dude you list, I mean, I don't know, honey. I don't know about that look on your face. What's the deal? What's really on your mind? He seems like, from the little bit we got to see of them, he seems like to me, he gives off the vibes that he has anger issues. Honestly, that's how he came off watching him. And his chick, hell, maybe she's just afraid to leave him. Now, I need to go back to definitely go back to going back to the first couple I was talking about, which is Shay and Michael. Now listen, and I want to say them as a couple on here, they are key. They are a prime example of a relationship that is like, whoa, how did y'all even make it to a show like this? Because let me tell you why I think that. Because Shay wants Michael, again, she's manipulative. She has ghosted him, she made her way back to him, and they're together. But the thing that sorely sticks out to me about them is the point that he has a child. And as a woman, from what we've seen, from what has been shown and explained to us about you, Shay, that you don't want any kids. So considering that you know this about yourself, that you are, strong in that conviction, how are you still with him? How are y'all still together? And it says a whole lot of things to have been able to see that she feels, and again, this might be sensationalized for TV, but again, only going off of what, has been produced, what has been broadcast about them. How are you staying with a guy that you feel like you want to marry, you would like to marry, but he has a child that he wants to become a more active role in their life? How does that work? How do you think? Because is your ultimate idea, again, coming down to your trait of manipulation? But how do you think you're going to manipulate him into not becoming a more substantial, having a more substantial presence in the life of his child, though? What type of man would he be? And with that being a question, $1 million question, the second $1 million question is, what type of, that speaks volumes about you as well, because You the type of woman who would want a man who would care about wanting to be more active in the life of his offspring? Where they do that at? So yeah, that's major. That's major with them, with those two. Major, major, major. Again, this might be sensationalized. Um, yeah. And at this point, I know that episode, tonight's episode, has concluded. So I have yet to watch it. See the outcome on this. What is it tonight? The finale, reunion? I don't know. But either way, I am. When it comes to these folks, it's a reunion. But the last thing I'll say about that process during the active season, or put a ring on it, is it seemed to me that they left out a huge chunk of how it could have wrapped, how their processes with dating could have wrapped. And maybe it's that they edited a certain way that didn't come out as well as it could have for to viewers, from a viewer standpoint, because to me, the way that they wrapped up this whole process, it just looks like a couple of things were missing. You know what I mean? Because on that episode last week, they it was just a couple of them cut off their dates for the final time. They did the ring browsing, they did the wedding dress browsing. And I feel like that episode could have substantially included clear-cut conversations among or between each couple, rather each couple, as far as where they want to go. Now, again, maybe they did that and editing just, truncated those dialogues. If they did that, if they did have those conversations, it's hard to tell. It was hard for me to tell. Because if they did it and edited those conversations down, they did it where they mixed in, the actual proposals, and they made the proposals a more substantial, visual point, which is backwards in my opinion. They should have showed each couple talking more, about agreeing and acknowledging wanting to take the next step as far as the marriage. So between every couple, they all resulted in proposals. Nobody's, decided to leave their current relationship and go with somebody that they had been on a date with. Nobody did that. Everybody got proposed to. All women got proposed to by their original boyfriends here. So, I cannot honestly say that I'm eager, but I will say that I'm definitely ready to see, what the reunion that aired already at 10 o'clock tonight entails. And so, yeah, I will see. We will see. So I'll just wrap this up by saying, yeah, I mean, this is my very first live stream. So, and I didn't promote it in advance. So it is what it is. This channel has existed for quite some time. I do have a few other videos on here. So whenever you do see this video, even though it's a live stream, feel free to check out my other videos that I already have on here. I am Golden Dark Dame. If you felt my vibe, liked my flow, then go ahead and also like, subscribe, and share this so that you can keep up. And hopefully you'll come back for the next one that I make. So until then,